He doesn't do himself any favour looking like a billiard ball, does he?
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes right here on the warm-up on Talk Sport. All eyes are on Stamford Bridge this morning as doubts about Antonio Conte continue to surface and questions about just how long he'll last at Chelsea refuse to go away. We'll be checking in with Ray Wilkins after another miserable week for the Italian. Will he be there after Christmas? 08717 22 3344. We want to hear from you Chelsea fans on your way there ahead of the Watford game. Meanwhile, Slaven Bilic has had the dreaded vote of confidence from David Sullivan, who says he's not going to get rid of him unless things get desperate. Well, I wonder what his definition of desperate is. Porky also wants to know what's up with Mark Hughes at Stoke. Plus we'll have a 1 minute moan as well. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. This is the warm-up, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike.
You should also know, should you not, this is the anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar.
Yes, of course.
You didn't know that, did you?
Of course I knew.
You'd forgotten about it.
Rubbish.
Because you didn't know
I don't
it was
forget
John...
about things
no,
like
I'm
that.
starting to get worried about you losing your faculties. You forgot it was John Lennon's birthday the other week.
No, I didn't.
I mean, for all the times that we talk about the Beatles, you didn't mention him.
No, I don't have problems like that at all.
No. What sort of problems do you have?
I don't have problems. I don't really have problems.
Really?
Do you know I don't have problems?
Why not?
I face them head on. When you've got a problem, you have to attack it.
Yeah.
You attack the problem. It's easier than...
What was the last problem you attacked?
Retreating. My broken tap in my second bathroom.
Your second bathroom?
Yeah.
What, in the hovel in Sutton?
No, it's not there. Down in Stockbroker Belt country.
Stockbroker Belt Sutton?
Yeah. No.
Everybody knows where you
I
live.
don't live in Sutton.
Everybody knows where you live.
In Sutton.
You put your address out on the internet about 2 years ago.
That was an address, but that was where
Have you moved from there
my
now?
registered office is. Sorry?
Oh, have you moved from there now?
Well, I've never lived there, actually.
Oh, I see, okay.
But, no, the tap just got stuck, so I had it removed and a new set of taps installed.
What sort of new taps have you got? Modern ones?
Well, of course they're modern.
Well, I mean, no, but some people like old-fashioned looking taps.
Oh, no.
Other people like very, very modern looking taps.
They're very modern. They're the ones that you flick to the side in order to make them function.
Flick to the side?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Well, some taps you lift and the water comes out. Some taps you turn and the water comes out. Mine you flick to the side and the water
you've
comes
got
out.
like the ones that you have in like a disabled toilet, that kind?
No, like you might have in an operating theatre. You see what I mean?
Oh, right, so you don't have to touch them with your hands.
Don't have to if you don't want to.
You can use your elbows.
Can do if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talking of using your elbows, there's been a lot of that going on over the last few days.
Yep.
We all know what happened up at Everton the other night. We don't have to talk about that just now, because on our show tomorrow night, we will be talking about the Everton-Arsenal game, I'm sure.
We will.
Depending on how it all goes. But today, all eyes are on Stamford Bridge, as I said earlier, because Antonio Conte seems to be getting himself into a bit of hot water and a bit of a sort of loggerhead situation with the owners of Chelsea, doesn't he?
I don't think he understands the way that things at Chelsea work. When Mr. Abramovich first bought Chelsea, almost instantly he got rid of Ranieri, who was then the manager, who was doing, compared to what Chelsea's expectancies were in the years that Mr. Ranieri was there, was doing a very good job.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Paul Newman at the time, who was the director...
Not the Paul Newman.
Not the Paul Newman, no, not the guy who starred in The Road to Perdition.
Oh, right. That's a good one for you to know.
Thank you.
Or indeed Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid.
Or indeed Butch Cassidy. Or indeed
Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke, I was going to say,
I interviewed him, you know.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What was he like?
I mean, it was one of those kind of sort of group of six type interviews,
Yeah, I see.
you know,
Yeah.
with the foreign press corps and all that. He was very charming, actually.
Was he? Yeah.
And much taller than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to be quite short.
And did he have those steely blue eyes?
He did have steely blue eyes.
Penetrating steely blue eyes,
And it was when he made that amazing comment about what's the point of going out for hamburger when you have steak at home.
That's right, yes.
In relation to whether he was happily married.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
A very charming man.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, Paul Newman, the Paul Newman I'm talking about, was in fact the director of communications at the Football Association, a role I had previously occupied, okay?
Oh, right. And where is he now? Is he still there?
No, he's been gone for years. I don't know what he does now. He came from the BBC. He was a mucker of David Davis, who was also a former BBC broadcaster. So there was a bit of a cabal of BBC people inside the FA. You know?
Well, that's never good, is it?
It's never good.
No.
It's not good to have a cabal of BBC people anyway.
It's not very good to have a cabal of any type of people.
Well, true.
I mean, it's always good to have a mixture, I would say.
I agree.
Yeah.
So anyway, he...
what are we talking about?
We're talking about
I've lost the thread of
Mr. Roman Abramovich and the role of the manager at Chelsea.
Okay.
And Paul said he'd spent some time, there, both as a sort of broadcaster and as director of communications, talking to people. He said, I think what people don't realise is that everybody expects Mr. Abramovich, who was the first Russian owner of a football club in this country, to play by the rules of the stiff, upper leg.
Marquis of Queensberry.
Yes, that's right.
Stuff,
yeah, and he said he doesn't. He plays by the rules of the Russians.
Yeah.
He said the reason he's a billionaire is he's a ruthless businessman.
Yeah.
He said so if somebody's no good, he gets rid of them.
I'm sure if he had a team that played somewhere in Siberia, he'd be more than happy to start launching people out there.
I'm sure he would.
It's not working out for you here at Stamford Bridge. Now you're going to go work in Vladivostok.
I'm sure he would. And the attitude you have to take with Mr. Conte is that what he doesn't understand is he was hired to win the Premier League. He did that. He then thought over the summer, this is what I've been told, that will give me now extra powers at the club to do the things I want to do, buy the players I want to buy, get rid of the players I want to get rid of, including, obviously, Diego Costa.
And generally sort of order people around a bit more.
Order people around a bit more and have more of an influence on the club's affairs like Arsene Wenger does at Arsenal. Well, he suddenly ran into a couple of Mr. Ramsey's people who said, you're an employee.
Yeah.
We pay you very well for doing what you do. Just get on with it and do it, OK?
Right.
That's all we want you to do.
Do not seek any further powers.
We do not want you to do anything else. Just want you to win another Premier League, OK? Forget everything else. Leave it to us.
Yes.
And I'm sure Mr. Conte will have found that somewhat difficult to deal with.
Are we also entering...
He would have said no reward for success.
Are we also entering a period where you can say the best chance you've got of winning the Premier League is actually not to have any European football? I mean, Everton are obviously being hurt by it. You might say Arsenal being hurt by it. You might say Liverpool are being hurt by it. All clubs that are playing in Europe are perhaps not doing as well domestically as they should be.
I couldn't agree with you more. And
apart from Manchester City.
The one sort of admission I will make about what my aspirations for Everton are this season is that if we now go out of the UEFA League, it will not be a bad thing.
No,
it means in the second half of the season we can concentrate on domesticity.
Domesticity is always a good thing to concentrate on. It might well be that, in fact, that is the beginning of the recovery of Everton.
Exactly. I mean, because you see, I think I'm trying to second think Mr. Koeman. But do you think he bought so many sort of players in the middle of the field, sort of number 10s, for want of a better word?
Yeah.
Because he thought, well, I'm going to have two squads, basically. One for the European competition on a Thursday, one for the Premier League on a Sunday. If he was thinking that way, he's brought too many players.
Well, he has. I don't say he's brought too many average players. Did he not say as well
that
he was saving Wayne Rooney from Thursday night's game to play against Arsenal on Sunday?
I know.
I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, what's the point of that when you humiliate yourself by getting beaten at home again?
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing.
Also,
Never a good
does
thing.
It also mean that he's going to be bearded for the Thursday night games and then clean-shaven for the weekend games?
You see, I first spotted that. I said on Thursday night...
Well, I'm not sure if you first spotted it.
I did. I said, why is our manager looking so scruffy? We want him to look smart and all that.
I thought it was Simon Jordan that spotted it first.
No, he spotted it on Friday morning.
I see.
I spotted it first on Thursday night.
I see.
And there's a few headlines around today saying, Koeman's close shave, with his job and all that kind of stuff, because he appeared in a press conference again yesterday.
Clean-shaven.
Clean-shaven.
Yeah.
So he must have been listening to me.
He may well have been. He looks a lot better than he did on the touchline, that's for sure.
Yes.
Here's one from Rio who says, "Why aren't we talking about the poor form of Everton instead of Madagascar?" Because he thinks, I think, that you're trying to just get away from the subject.
No, not at all. I'm just trying to be informative.
Joe says, Porky says he doesn't have any problems. What about only one third of his heart working?
Well, that's a problem I live with, and I don't moan about it.
That is quite a big problem, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it could drop dead at any moment.
Yes, that's
like the Black Death.
Well, it does concentrate. The mind. That's right. Yeah.
Here's one from Johnny who says, "I was taken to Madagascar as an 11-year-old kid. What a beautiful country."
Really? Well, don't go now, mate. They've got the Black Death.
Yeah. Jim says, "After a hellish week offshore, just tuned in to hear Porky shouting Black Death. What on earth is going on?" Now, there may be a plague of sorts at Chelsea. We want to hear from Chelsea fans this morning. It's the early kick-off, of course, at 12:30, just over an hour from now. We will be hearing team news. Would you like to give out the number for people to call?
I'm going to give it out in 1 second, but you're absolutely right in putting your finger on this, because one headline this morning says Antonio Conte has again pointed the finger at the Chelsea board for his side struggles. The under-fire boss claims he predicted problems in pre-season due to a thin squad.
Yes.
I mean, he has been bleating on about this for quite a while.
He has indeed.
Every manager has to feel the pressure. I try to give all myself. I try to put all myself in my job. For this reason, I'm happy. I know in every moment I put all myself in my job for this club, for the fans, for the players. Yeah, and then you know very well that anything can happen in football.
Anything can happen in football. In fact, that was a very similar remark that was made by Slaven Bilic last night when he was being interviewed by the Moose after the game, after losing 3-0 to Brighton.
That's right.
He said, he doesn't really think he can say anything clever anymore, and anything is possible. And anything's possible for Antonio Conte, because I'm seeing from one of the papers this morning the long list, the rogues gallery, if you like, of all the people who tried to mess with Roman Abramovich and didn't get anywhere. Avram Grant, Luis Philip Scolari, Carlo Ancelotti, Andre Villas-Boas, Roberto Di Matteo, Jose Mourinho.
That's right.
I mean, that reads like a sort of a list of some of the best managers that Chelsea have ever had.
Yeah.
And yet they've all been kicked out
including one who won the Champions League and found himself out of work 5 months later.
Exactly right. Let's talk to Ray Wilkins, Chelsea legend, of course, who's down there this morning. We've got the first early kick-off of Saturday at 12:30. Chelsea taking on Watford. Mr. Wilkins, a very good morning to you.
Please don't say Mr. Wilkins. That makes me feel rather old, Mike.
Yeah, well, you are rather old.
Well, that's
sorry, Ray.
That's very harsh.
I think that's a very fair comment. But I'm here at a wonderful sunny Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
The one thing that I have in my favour at the moment is the Moose is not eating.
Oh, yes.
So it's not going to go all over my jumper.
Well, that's very unusual for the Moose at this time of the morning, because normally he's either talking or eating.
He's down by the dugouts, and he's looking to accost anybody that walks out of that dugout. So he's doing a good job.
Okay, good I hope you're wearing a badge saying I'm not with the Moose, because that's what I do and I'm in the same stadium as him. It's an embarrassment.
Now, sorry, go on.
Ray, getting down to business.
Yes.
Mr. Conte, of course, has won the Premier League. Now, my theory is, talking to people who know better than me, he thinks now he should have more influence at the club because he's won the Premier League, and you could say it's a justifiable line of thought. But in fact, at Chelsea, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, and I would go along with that vein of thought in that San Antonio should be able to do what he wants. He's won the championship in the first season. I say we because I'm a Chelsea supporter.
Yep.
We are less a force this year than we were last year. We lost Costa. Yes, okay, we've got Morata, but we don't have any backup whatsoever. We've lost Matic in the centre of the pitch, which will only enhance Manchester United's situation as far as they're concerned. I just can't understand what is actually going on.
It's very weird, isn't it? But do you get a sense, as we do, and some of the newspapers are kind of hinting at, that there seems to be at least a bit of a frisson between Antonio Conte and not just Abramovich, but his lieutenants at the club?
No, I think that's a fair comment. If you don't win at Chelsea, then you'll be sacked, and that's that's the way it is. When you think Roman has over the years just sacked people willy-nilly.
Yeah.
You never hear anybody come back and discuss that situation, because what he does, he pays them off and they go.
Well, Roberto Di Matteo got sacked actually for winning, didn't he?
Yeah, well, exactly. This is what I'm saying. You win, but you will get sacked. It's a bit like Real Madrid of the 10 years ago.
Sure. But
you win the treble, you still get booted out.
But the thing is, Ray,
that's life. You have to understand when you're coming into Chelsea, it is win, 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 and don't even go there as far as anything else is concerned.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's proved to be very successful, because if you look at the trophies that have been picked up since
it's been marvellous.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, David Sullivan last night, the owner of West Ham, was asked about the longevity, of his manager, Slaven Bilic. He said, well, I'm a moral man, he's got a 3-year contract, but he also admitted that being loyal to managers sometimes is the wrong thing to do.
Well, I've got to say, you employ someone to do a job. I will always say, as far as West Ham are concerned, and I will say with Tottenham as well, is stadium.
Yeah.
When you used to go to play at Upton Park, it was raucous. It was fantastic. You loved it. You loved playing there, but you knew you was going to get a real game. And that was the same as White Hart Lane as well. When they go to Wembley, when they go to the London Stadium, it's totally different. And Brighton enjoyed that last night. They enjoyed the open spaces of the pitch, and they played some good football. So, it's very, very difficult when you start uprooting yourself and going elsewhere.
Well, what will happen when it happens to Chelsea then? How can you guarantee they won't have the new stadium effect?
I can't guarantee nothing.
No.
I can't guarantee nothing. The one thing I would do is, instead of going to Wembley, I'd try and get Twickenham.
Right.
Because it's a football stadium.
Right.
It's close.
Yeah, it's near,
it's 80,000 people. It's not these massive, great areas around the pitch.
Yeah.
But Twickenham is a fantastic. If you was to imagine you put a football pitch on that Twickenham pitch,
yes,
what a great stadium.
That could work
the
well.
The atmosphere would be fantastic.
Now, what about the situation regarding the top of the league at the moment? Chelsea sitting in 5th place, 9 points behind Manchester City.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a pretty big yawning gap at this time of the year, isn't it?
Massive.
I mean, would you think that Conte has now given up on winning the league this year?
No, what I've got to say about that is that City have come here to Stamford Bridge and they battered us. They beat us 1-0, but they battered us. And I've got to say they were fantastic. So Chelsea can only play them one more time. So there's only 3 points. So that's 6 points if they beat them at Etihad.
Yeah.
No, you can't. It's very, very difficult to beat the top 4-5 teams twice in a season. Now, if you do that, you'll win the championship. But Chelsea now have to go to the Etihad in deficit to Manchester City. And the way they're playing at the moment is quite unbelievable.
But that's the other question, isn't it? Can they keep that up? Because, I mean, some people have pointed out they started very well last season, but then they kind of had a couple of stumbles.
I think this is slightly different. I think what we're seeing at the moment is we're seeing the closest thing to Barcelona that I've seen in years. And not so much in possession of the ball, out of possession of the ball. They work so hard to get the ball back. They actually flood the territory that you think you've got. Yeah. And they're brilliant. I just love watching them play.
They're fantastic to watch, aren't they?
They're not massive. They're not massive guys. I just think, and this is a weird way of thinking, I do apologise, but I honestly think Manchester United will win the league.
Right.
Because they're physically combative, they have the quality, and I just think when these two teams meet, Man United might have the touch on Manchester City.
Despite the fact that City look unbeatable at the moment and free-flowing in a way we haven't seen since
wonderful.
Since the glory days of Sir Alex Ferguson, really.
It's wonderful. You know, when you watch them play, and the goal they scored the other week, I know they won 7-2, but we'd just take it away. But they passed it from the back to the front, 27, 28 passes, and the ball was in the back of the net. And it wasn't anything elaborate. It was one touch, two touch, one touch, two touch, and the ball ends up in the back of the net. And as a coach and as a manager, you're sitting there thinking, this is what we work for every day of the week.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely right. Well, listen, Ray, what do you think is going to happen today? You think Watford are going to turn Chelsea over, or do you think they'll manage to get 3 points?
Well, I honestly do believe, Mike, and I've got to say this, if Watford were to beat Chelsea today, then we see Antonio Conte leave our shores tomorrow.
No, really?
Yes.
Blimey. So it's they're that close to the brink.
Yeah, well, there we are. Another manager on the brink. Ray Wilkins, thank you very much indeed. We'll be coming back to you a little bit later on as we get the team news. He's always saying, of course,
that... some wind shear there, didn't the stadium at Chelsea?
Well, Hurricane Brian, or Storm Brian, as it's become known.
That's right.
Is battering into the west coast of Britain, apparently, and battering into the south coast of Britain. And the residual winds, I thought you might have known this from your meteorological journals.
I do.
Are sort of coming up into London as well.
Yeah, sure.
Particularly South London.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, where Chelsea is. So,
and where Stockbroker Belt Surrey is. So I'm keeping an eye on the forest.
Well, I hope you haven't left any cacti on the roof garden.
No.
To be blown off.
It's all battened down.
Did you hear what the railway companies were saying this weekend?
What was that?
Please tie down all your garden furniture so it doesn't blow over onto the railway lines.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah,
because they've already got the wrong kind of leaves stopping all the trains. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Just before we get the team news for the Chelsea-Watford game, a couple of quick announcements to make. One from Vicky, who says, semi-final day here in Scotland. Kick-off in an hour. Come on, the mighty hippies.
Oh, right.
It's Neil Lennon, of course. I think they're taking on Celtic. There's been a bit of a row about tickets. We might talk about that in a little while.
The heebie-jeebies.
Indeed. Matt says, it's my birthday. I'm 35. Never miss a show. Off to Spurs-Liverpool tomorrow. A shout-out would make my day. Well, happy birthday for tomorrow, Matt.
What's his name? Matt, and he's 35.
Yeah.
35 is a great age.
Yeah.
Half the age of life expectancy figure of 70. So you've got a long way to go.
Yeah, excellent.
Well done, Matt. Have a good day.
50% of your life. Lots of people saying Toby Gillies being one of them. The newsreader here who used to refer to as Toby Nobody.
Toby Nobody.
That's right. He's just tweeted out.
Nobody.
He's just tweeted out the Chelsea team and said, isn't it awful, terrible, how terrible, because he's a Watford fan. How awful do I feel about the fact that Chelsea's team is riddled with injuries, basically, and how they're going to cope with Watford, which I think is supposed to be tongue-in-cheek.
So,
the other thing that's interesting,
sarcasm there.
A bit of sarcasm from Toby. Yeah, he's obviously learning. He's learning. Now, look at this number of managers who are on the shortlist, apparently, for replacing Slaven Bilic. And you'd have to say these same managers might also be on the shortlist to replace Ronald Koeman, might also be on the shortlist to replace Antonio Conte.
Yeah.
And they start
remember
with...
there's a vacancy at Leicester.
Yes, indeed. Manuel Pellegrini is named on the list. Rafa Benitez, who may be moving out of Newcastle, depending on how that buyout goes. Roberto Mancini, another man who's had some great success. Sean Dyche, who's doing very well at Burnley. Who's doing very well at Burnley. And Carlo Ancelotti. Those are some big names, aren't they?
Yeah, but there are other names which aren't mentioned, like, for instance, Eddie Howe, right, who I thought would be mentioned for any bigger club that had a vacancy.
Has the gloss not gone off him a little bit at Bournemouth, though?
Maybe, but, that longevity sometimes erodes the effect of what you're doing. You see what I mean? And it's time to move on and get a fresh club.
You sort of hit a dead end, you mean?
Yes. And the other guy, who I can't understand why he's not mentioned every time a Premier League job comes up, is Chris Hughton.
Yeah.
Because Chris Hughton is
he's already got one, though.
Yes, I know he has, but it's what you would call, it's a promoted club, and it's a less fashionable Premier League club.
Is.
Not through any other reason except for the fact they've just come back into it.
But also it is. But look at what they did last night. 3-0 win at West Ham. Draw with Everton. Should have really beaten Everton last weekend. It was kind of an unfortunate penalty in the final last gasp of the game.
I think we've got to be grateful for the way that result turned out.
And what about Mark Hughes? I mean, he's been at Stoke a long time. You've got some kind of bee in your bonnet about him.
No, talking about managers, I was going to raise the Mark Hughes issue. Yeah. Now, our very good friend Henry Winter has been up to the Potteries and sat down, had a long talk with Mark, who, to give him absolute credit, is very involved with working in the community with people at Stoke, and he's out with children. Work in the community is something he says that's very important to him, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've read the whole piece from Henry, and they have dozens, scores, maybe even hundreds of ambassadors from Stoke go to schools and spread the word, and try and he says it's not a very it's not a particularly affluent part of the country,
right.
And we like to help where we can. They send coaches out to help kids, coaches into all 68 local primary schools. This club seems closer to its local community than many others that I've been to, says Mark Hughes. They work with the 215 schools across the county, giving 8,000 7-year-olds a replica shirt and a match day ticket through their City 7 scheme, okay?
Yes.
And that has worked out that 25% of Stoke's fan base is younger than 21.
Is that
so
right?
That's all fantastic work.
Yeah.
And my own club, Everton, do an awful lot in the community. They've got their own school and all that kind of stuff.
Which is why people were pointing out that the behaviour of that fan is doubly bad, because a lot of the kids that they're trying to help come from perhaps backgrounds where, they need a role model.
Absolutely shocking, I have to say. However, it's the actual talk with Mark Hughes about his role as manager.
Yeah.
He says, I never went out to try and draw attention to myself. That just came naturally because I was okay at what I did, and that was enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to do interviews every other week. Sorry, I didn't have to do interviews every other week. I had enough to fuel my ego, or what little ego I had, by virtue of playing for Man United. So what he's saying is, because he was a very successful footballer,
he was a great footballer, wasn't he?
He also played for Barcelona, of course.
Played for Chelsea as
and
well.
He played for Chelsea, of course he did. And so his success as a player, he says, means that he doesn't have to promote himself as a manager. But then he goes on to say, and remember, although he has been a long-standing Premier League manager, he hasn't had great success in terms of trophies, as some other managers in the Premier League have. So he goes on to say, maybe some of these guys, he's talking about fellow managers, who haven't had playing careers at the level I've had, think that if they have to raise their profile, they have to do it in some other way by drawing attention to themselves. And they're very good at it. The guys who've come through over the last 10 years are more aware of that influence, more aware of how they can use the media and use TV cameras. I enjoy duelling with the likes of Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte and Jurgen Klopp. It's part of what's expected from the modern-day manager. We're part of the show. You see all the lead-in to the names, and it's always Conte jumping up and down on the sideline, or it's Klopp doing his facial expressions.
Right.
Now,
so has he been critical of the way that other managers conduct themselves?
He's commenting on it.
Yes.
He's saying that I don't have to do that.
But these are people that he doesn't shake hands with. He's had a few problems, hasn't he?
I think there's about 5 managers, I think, who've refused to shake hands with him at the end of a game, or he's refused to shake hands with them.
Right.
But the point I'm making is that Mark Hughes is saying I had a very successful football career and some of the other managers in the Premier League didn't, which is absolutely true because, of course, Jose Mourinho had no football career, neither did Arsene Wenger. Conte did, didn't he?
Conte did, yes.
A pretty outstanding football career. But what he's saying is that, I don't have to big myself up as a manager because I was a great player.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't accept that.
But to be fair, I suppose, you wouldn't say that the teams he's been in charge of over the years have ever really been in a position to win much.
Manchester City?
Yeah, Manchester City, before they really had had the money, though, right?
On the cusp of getting big.
They were on the cusp of getting big, but they weren't as they are now.
Yeah, but I mean, this the whole landscape has changed since Leicester won the Premier League title, and it can be proven that non-fashionable clubs can.
Well, I mean, lots of people have said that that's never going to happen again, and I mean, even you've said that it was a fluke.
Well, I don't know how it happened, but it happened. But no, the point I'm making here is that I think he is in fact bigging himself up and using what he says. I have very little ego. I think you've got a huge ego if you say to yourself, I don't need to promote myself in the dugout because I was a great player.
Well, I don't think
that, to me, are the words of an egotistical man, particularly when he's actually, sort of backhandedly criticising very successful managers like Conte and Klopp.
I think you're being very unfair. I'm sure if you're a Stoke fan, you're pretty happy with Mark Hughes and the fact that he has done some good things for the club. He's turned the club into a pretty decent money-making machine. He's
it's not good to get beaten 7-2, though, is it?
Well, no, but I mean, Manchester City,
on the last day of last season.
That might not be the biggest margin of victory that Manchester City scored this season.
Well, that is the very point he made after that game.
Yeah.
We're not going to be the only team that get turned over by Manchester City this season.
That doesn't sound anything like him.
Yeah, it is. That's my Welsh accent.
Sounds like Fireman Sam.
At the end of last season, didn't Stoke get beaten 5-1 in the last game? Didn't I say to you then? I said, they're going to have a look at their manager over the summer because
but they
can't keep on doing that.
But they didn't.
No.
And the point is they are still, they're down in 16th position. They've got Swansea, I think. Haven't they? No, Leicester have got Swansea.
Yes.
Who have Stoke got?
Today,
Stoke have got Bournemouth, haven't they?
Stoke have got Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I know that because it's on one of my treble.
Well, you predicted that Bournemouth are going to win that game.
I have indeed, yes.
Whereas I predicted that Stoke are going to win.
Yes,
so
that's
we can have this argument a bit later on. But I think you've been a bit hard on him. I think there's a difference between ego and confidence as well. I mean, you can be confident without having a big ego. Look at somebody like Harry Kane, who's generally described as being a great guy, not somebody with a massive ego who needs to have it fed all the time. I mean, you've got a massive ego that needs feeding.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're like Mark Hughes then. You're going to sit there and say, I haven't got an ego.
No, but you've also made the point that how does he get into spats with other managers so often, more often than any other Premier League manager?
Yeah.
That's because of ego. That's because of, I'm not talking
to you.
Does
he feel that he's not being treated properly or something like that?
Well, I don't know, but all I can say to you is I can't understand if he thinks he's the strong and silent type with his hands in his pockets, standing on the touchline or in the technical area, how can he possibly criticise blokes who get very excited like Jurgen Klopp and Conte, who are, emotively different to him?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Well, every manager's different. I mean, Ronald Koeman doesn't jump up and down on the touchline.
No, he doesn't. No.
I mean, he keeps his hands quite firmly in his pockets and
he does,
strokes his chin quite a bit.
That was another thing which was different, about the other night. Normally speaking, Ronald Koeman stands there in a £2,000 suit.
Yeah.
The other night, of course, dishevelled and bearded. Yeah. He had a tracksuit on.
Well,
and
maybe
was giving out the wrong signals.
Well, maybe he takes the view that in Europe you dress differently.
Sorry?
Maybe he takes the view that in Europe you dress differently.
What, you mean for European competition?
Yeah.
Well, maybe
he tries to get himself into a different mindset. Therefore, he dresses differently, grows a beard, and just does the same thing as he does in the Premier League, which is lose a game.
He didn't grow a beard. That's the point. He just hadn't shaved that day.
Well,
he'd shaved by the.
It looked like more than one day's growth to me.
Well, maybe a couple of days.
Yeah. Very strange. Like a bit of Bon Jovi on Saturday.
Bit of John Bon Jovi, that's right. He was a big star, wasn't he, in the 80s in America?
Certainly was, yeah. Well, he still does stadium tours.
Yeah, he does,
I think Bon Jovi did a massive Hyde Park show last
year, I think he did, yeah.
But Wembley.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a great song. We're not here to this bit. You want to hear the chorus,
yes.
Don't you?
Yeah, terrific song.
Yeah, we've got to wait for the chorus.
No, that's the chorus, isn't it?
No, this is the chorus
this
coming
is the chorus,
down.
Right.
Here.
Yeah, pretty good that.
Living on a Prayer.
Yeah,
that's the name of the song.
Living on a Prayer.
That's how you know it's the chorus.
Now, did you know that Living on a Prayer, that Bon Jovi one, is the second most requested or second most performed karaoke tune
is it really?
of all time?
Which surprises me, actually. It's quite a hard one to sing because you've got to get up to a couple of high notes on that.
Okay, well, the most popular one. No, I appreciate your comments.
Really?
Now, the most popular one is Adele, Hello. Right.
Hello?
Can you believe that? Yeah, it's such a slow song. Yeah. The third one is Madonna, Holiday. Right. Fourth, ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Yeah.
Fifth, Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling. But the reason I'm telling you all this, right, is that karaoke singers have been banned from singing some of the classics by top stars like ABBA and Adele. More than 100 bands and performers are no longer issuing key licenses for their music.
What, so that you can't get the karaoke version?
You can't get the karaoke version.
Really?
You go into, you went to some pub in Liverpool when we were performing there once, right? And step forward.
Well, we've only performed once in Liverpool.
Yeah, step forward. And
I was asked to go up and sing a song.
Yeah.
Right? And do you know which song I sang?
Yes, you sang Don't Look Back in Anger.
Yeah.
And this is your pathetic rendering.
Very good, isn't it?
Utterly pathetic, honestly.
I'm going to hear the whole thing. Unfortunately, it comes off
we don't
just
want to hear the
before
whole
the chorus. A lot of plaudits for this, by the way.
No, you didn't. Does this come from your days as a choir boy?
I was never a choir boy.
I thought you were.
I was an altar boy.
Altar boy, same thing, isn't it? Right, I think we had enough.
More extraordinary was the fact that I was even able to actually stand up at that point.
Exactly. That's absolutely true.
You know.
Now, you won't believe it, but more than 100 bands and performers.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, okay. Well, I thought we'd just let the audience listen to your puerile efforts.
Yeah, okay.
Now, here, I'll tell you who have withdrawn the licence, right? Karaoke favourites such as Madonna's...
So are you saying karaoke?
Karaoke.
Karaoke.
Yeah. Now, karaoke favourites such as Madonna's Holiday, Purple Rain by Prince, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, which we've heard, excluded. Bars and companies which recreate hits without the vocals are baffled by the move because it deprives the artists of royalties. The ban already applies to online streaming services.
So every time I sing that, right, in a pub, Noel Gallagher gets money, does he?
He does, yeah. That's right.
Well, I'd like to help him out.
Yeah, well, exactly. Now, Jay Taylor, who's director of Karaoke Disc Maker, Vocal Star, said the move also affects home karaoke machines.
Really?
Which will devastate the industry. So I thought when you got a home karaoke machine, I thought the music was already inside it.
Well, I think you can probably add to it, I suppose, because like most of these things, they've got the ability to store lots and lots of music on.
Yes, that's right.
Well, maybe you'll now buy a karaoke machine which has fewer or not so many songs on it, or not so many of those songs on it.
But, it's so widespread. Listen, I've done some more research. Other artists on the list who are now not issuing licences for you to sing their songs, karaoke versions of... are the Bee Gees, Eurythmics, Katy Perry...
The Bee Gees?
Yeah, the Bee Gees. I mean, Staying Alive. That's one of my favourites.
That's very hard to hit that high note, though.
That's one of my favourites. Jive Talking is another good one of mine.
Yeah. I've never seen you singing karaoke.
Saturday Night Fever.
You've never sung karaoke?
I have.
When?
Loads of times.
Well, I've never seen you doing it.
Others are New Order. Are they any good?
New Order?
New Order, yeah.
Yeah, they're quite good, yeah.
Okay. Rob Kempton. Oh, no, sorry. He's from the Music Rights Consultancy, Footprint Music.
Rob Kempton, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, and he said artists might want to negotiate their own deal with the karaoke companies, or it might be they don't want songs overplayed and put people off, and they don't want them badly played.
Yes.
So I can understand that, I can understand that. You go into some...
Well, that's getting a bit precious, isn't it?
Well, not really, because if you've got a classic record, say Get Back, okay, for just one of any records.
Well, let's just pick a Beatles song out of nowhere.
Well, okay, let's pick something much more modern.
Try and pick something a bit more modern, like Taylor Swift's latest single.
Taylor Swift's latest single,
Gorgeous,
right?
I think it's called.
Gorgeous, that's right. Yeah. So she lets this go onto a karaoke machine.
Yeah.
So a couple of drunks, maybe somebody like you, because you admitted you were well bladderated when you sung.
That's not what
I said. You said you were amazed you could even stand up.
Yeah, because I was very tired from doing a live show in Liverpool's O2 Academy.
Yeah, through which you drunk consistently, okay? Champagne and wine.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
So you go staggering into a pub in Liverpool, and there's nothing wrong with pubs in Liverpool, they're all good.
Yeah.
You get on the karaoke machine.
You weren't there because you'd gone to bed early.
And yes, because I behaved myself.
Really?
And you're suddenly delivering a horrendous, catwalling or catwailing version.
Caterwauling.
Yeah, caterwauling version of Taylor Swift's latest single. Well, anybody else in that pub's going to think, God, what is this ghastly record? And they're going to think
but the point of karaoke,
it might be the way Taylor Swift sings
but
it.
But the point of karaoke is it's supposed to be entertaining. You're not expecting to hear Taylor Swift singing in a pub in Liverpool.
No.
So therefore, it's a bit of a laugh. You know, one of the reasons that people like the X Factor is not because of the people who end up winning it.
Yes.
At the beginning, it's because of the people who are so awful.
That's right.
That they end up getting kicked out.
That's right.
That's what people like.
Yeah, but
it's called power to the people.
No,
it's
but
not
I
called
think
the elitist music people saying, "Oh, you can't sing my song because you're no good at it."
I think the people who now manage these top international stars are saying, "Hang on, they're taking the mickey out of us by playing these karaoke versions because they're all dreadful.
Yes.
And the point is, now that you can relay them to so many millions of other people through, social networking, they could become an industry of their own. You see what I mean? And so I think they're saying, no, forget it, we're not going to allow it anymore.
Well, I mean, my heart does bleed for these mega rich rock stars who can't afford to let ordinary people sing their songs. I think that's absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Disgraceful. Meanwhile, a couple of people saying, I've got a great singing voice. Somebody asking here, I'd love to hear an album of MG singing some classic tracks.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We'll do a Christmas album, maybe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I might, if you're good to me, if you're nice to me, I might let you come on as a guest singer.
Oh, yeah, and total sales, 6.
Really?
Yeah, it wouldn't
that'd be more
than
you've ever sold.
Wouldn't be worth producing it, mate. Believe me.
Yeah, I don't believe you because you talk absolute rubbish. Now, how about this from Rob Mack? You know his two boys go and play for the Welshpool Town Juniors every Saturday.
Yes. Okay.
And he said today earlier on it was going to be heavy going against Knight in a heavy pitch and rain.
Right.
Ethan and Nat love it though. The update has come in. The boys won 5-1. Ethan scored 1 and Nathaniel scored 2. One was a volley from the halfway line.
Was it? Well done.
Isn't that
Congratulations.
Great? Well done, Ethan, and well done, Nat.
Absolutely. I want to say happy birthday to Tommy Wright.
Who's he?
He was Everton's right fullback when we won the Premier League, the First Division title in 1970.
Has he asked you to give him a shout-out?
No, the Everton magazine have said...
sorry, this is not an Everton show. Yeah, but you want to go on Everton Radio and talk about Everton? You could go on Everton Radio. This is Talk Sport Radio. Yeah. We're not talking about Everton, apart from the disgrace that was their performance the other night.
Anybody who sends a birthday request, we normally respond to, that's all.
Well, nobody sent it,
precious, all right?
Well, nobody sent it.
They did. I received it.
You know what we're going to do next? We're going to do the Police UK crime map of Gosport. Somebody's just tweeted it to me.
No, we're not, because it doesn't exist.
273 crimes in August alone.
Very low. OK, now we've teamed up with Barclays, proud partner of the Premier League, to reward fans with better... I was going to say batter there.
Butter?
With better... Yeah, and butter, the butter shortage. With better access to football experiences. Now, in our Match Stats competition, each week we're saluting those fans who know their club back to front and inside out, especially when it comes to the facts and the figures. So this week we gave away tickets to this afternoon's clash at the Bet365 Stadium, Stoke City versus Bournemouth.
And congratulations to our lucky winner this week, Carl Fairhurst. You can hear how he got on in the full-time phone-in tonight from 7:30. That's all thanks to Barclays, proud partner of the Premier League.
Certainly is.
Match Stats on TalkSport with Barclays, rewarding fans with better access to the Premier League.
Now, I've got a great thing here, right? And it's been sent in by one of our Twitterers, whose name I shall give you in a moment. But it's the police.uk map of crime in Gosport.
Oh, right.
I've never seen anything like this, right? What you can do is you can go on the general area.
Why would I want to?
Well, because you can find out where are the most crime-ridden hotspots in the place that you live.
Oh, I see,
Therefore, you know,
it's a very low crime area anyway, Gosport.
Well, no, I don't think so. No, I think what you'll find is that basically there are... it's David who sent it in, actually. There are something like 267 crimes committed, and those are just the ones that we know about, in the month of August.
Yeah, but there's 60,000 people live there, so that's a very, very low return on crime.
Look, if you look at the map, right, you probably live sort of at the top end there, where the little sort of peninsula part is, I'm assuming.
Well, near the Gosport's the end of a peninsula.
Is that Defence Munitions Gosport? Is it near there where you live?
It might be. It's that's called the Hard.
The Hard Way?
Yeah, that's
Is that
right,
where you are?
No, but it's across the road. And by the way, no crime takes place in the Hard Way. It's a new development.
There's no crime there at all.
No
Is that
crime.
where you are?
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm in the no crime area.
Oh, okay, because just on the outskirts of that, 169 crimes committed in August alone.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is that, and you can translate figures into anything you like.
Camden Town, 19. It's really good because it shows you exactly where the addresses were of the burglaries.
Yes, right. And you say Camden Town in North London?
No, Camden Town in Gosport.
There isn't a Camden Town in Gosport.
Yeah, there is. It's there. No, Donnelly Street, Camden Town it's called. There's Camden Street, Russell Street, Durham Street, Fortin Road.
That's very interesting.
Next to Fortin Recreation Ground.
What about the sort of slum-ridden areas that you occupy?
I don't live anywhere near.
How much crime is there?
I don't know. I haven't got
Surrey
the map.
Keys? You're saying there's no crime?
I don't live in Surrey Keys.
In Surrey Keys?
I don't live in Surrey Keys.
Where do you live?
I live in Rotherhithe.
Rotherhithe. You're telling me there's no crime in Rotherhithe?
There may well
Rotherhithe
be crime
is one of the highest crime areas in this country.
No, it's not. Gosport is the crime capital of Britain.
No. Rotherhithe has more crime.
As we have always
Rotherhithe,
said.
which is on the banks of the River Thames, it's on the south side of the river, is it not?
Opposite Canary Wharf.
Opposite Canary Wharf. was, I mean,
It's a pretty safe area, actually.
20 years ago.
I'll tell you why it's a safe area.
That was a flea-bitten pit of a slum.
No, it wasn't.
And some part of it still are.
No, it wasn't. It used to be very much a warehouse area.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Because it's where all the ships used to come in.
And you don't think there was massive crime going on inside those warehouses?
No, absolutely not.
I can tell you there was.
One of the reasons it's not a massive area for crime is because there's an awful lot of Millwall supporting families that live in the road that I live in.
Yes.
And Millwall supporting families are good people.
Insulting Millwall
You've got into trouble about this before.
No, I do not insult Millwall fans.
Millwall fans are salt of the earth types.
That's the question.
And what they don't like is people coming into their streets and causing trouble. So it doesn't happen.
Well, sorry, is it a bit like Glasgow, is it? What are you doing in my street, Jimmy?
It is a bit like that, yeah. It is a bit like that. Now, a lot of people are giving you a hard time for criticising my singing. Lee says Mike Graham has a great voice, sounding like a young Frank Sinatra. Why don't you ask Porky about when he sang "Paint It Black" on stage?
Well, when I sung "Paint It Black," it was roundly appreciated.
Craig says, "Hold on, Porky killed an Elvis classic not so long ago.
No,
your voice is great, MG. More MG singing, less of Porky." Anne-Marie says, "Great singing, MG. Porky just saw that your voice is better than his."
Rubbish.
Cambridge Tony says, "I have to say, MG, I thought that was Noel Gallagher singing the original there."
That'd be ridiculous. One here says, "Love to hear an album of MG singing some classic tracks."
Yeah, I read that one out before.
Well, yeah, we're not going to get into that, believe me. We don't have enough time in the day to waste on, the four-eyed fat guy warbling away in some studio somewhere.
Only you could call somebody four-eyed, despite the fact that you wear glasses.
Yeah, but yours are much more prominent than mine. Mine are
they're
rimless.
a lot more expensive than yours.
And
you've got the world's cheapest national health glasses anybody's ever seen.
They're not from the National Health.
Here's one from Jim, who says, "I love how Porky gets increasingly louder and more strident with his scare stories. Full-on tabloid scaremongering."
No. It's nothing to do with that. I have a duty and a right as a communicator and a broadcaster to alert those people who listen to us to the perils that lie ahead in the day
right?
and the days and the weeks. Yes.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Ready for what?
This.
Okay.
I know that your failing memory is affecting lots of things that you do. Do you remember what this means?
Yes.
This means that it's time for the 1 minute moan.
That's right.
Now, have you got a 1 minute moan?
I've got a 1 minute moan, certainly have.
That's good. Now, because of various, shall we say, complaints in the past about the neutrality, shall we say, of the judging on this particular competition, it's currently 5-4 to you.
Yeah.
You've been given awards for winning when you shouldn't have done.
Yes.
We now have a new judge who's been brought in. It is producer Izzy.
Who's this charlatan?
Producer Izzy.
Oh,
is very far from being a charlatan, right?
Okay, well, I think Izzy knows.
Izzy, star of Stage and Screen, star of our occasional Facebook Live exhibitions that we do on a weekly basis.
That's right. I think Izzy knows on which side her bread is buttered.
Well, there's a butter shortage, isn't there?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a butter shortage,
but
of course, because I'm
butter.
smarter than the average bear, I might be able to get around that.
the average bear is not actually very smart.
Well, I can tell you that
you do know
the
that,
average bear
don't
is
you?
quite smart.
All right, well, why don't you go first with your 1 minute moan?
Yeah,
I
will.
I shall give you a little countdown.
I will.
The Clockmeister, 3, 2, 1, clock.
Right, the police in this country have gone completely mad. They have gone bonkers, official, right? And I want them to get back to policing, OK? In Hull this week, we saw policemen in Dodgem cars nipping around in the Dodgems, crashing into each other to integrate with the local community at a fairground, OK? Then we saw other policemen having their nails painted blue, yellow, red and everything else to try and indicate that there is slavery in this country, and a lot of slavery takes place, apparently, they said, in nail bars where women get their nails painted.
You did this as part of your winners and losers yesterday.
No, I did not. This is absolute nonsense. But now, let's get down to the one that's really got my goat, and this is in Wales, in Cardiff, hello boyo. We've now got policemen walking around in pink high-heeled shoes on marches to try and illustrate to people that, look, we do not stand for crime against women in this town. Well, you shouldn't stand for crime against women or anybody else in any town, but to get involved in a stupid stunt to put high-heeled shoes on, men putting high-heeled shoes on, walking round and saying we're looking after the community and we're looking for hate crime. Nonsense. Get back to policing. Proper policing.
You're over the limit.
Catch the crooks.
You're over the limit. Well, there's plenty of them in Gosport. You should go down there and get some. What do you think?
I'm not speaking because I did it to the second. Okay?
I see. No, you did it over the second, actually. What are you going to do now, then?
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to now listen to your pathetic attempt to match my brilliant 1 minute moan, OK?
OK.
Is the Clockmeister ready? Yeah. OK, Clockmeister. 3, 2, 1, clock!
My 1 minute moan you'll enjoy this week because it's all about pollution and it's all about the fight to make this country much less polluted than it is supposed to be.
Oh, sorry, I'm yawning.
Sadiq Khan, a man who has got no business being in charge of London, has now decided that it's not enough to charge people £11.50 to drive into the centre of London with the congestion charge. Not that it makes any difference to the congestion because you can't actually get anywhere because there are so many speed bumps and 20-mile-an-hour signs, right? What he's now doing is he's bringing in another charge which is going to be brought in if you've got an older car which is somehow polluting. The T charge is going to be costing you an extra 10 quid, which means if you've got an older car, probably a diesel car, which you were told to buy by the government, you are now going to have to spend £21.50 to actually drive into the centre of London. This is going to hurt commercial operations. It's going to hurt a lot of delivery drivers. It's going to hurt a lot of firms who are trying to do business and trying to do their best despite the fact that the government is taxing them out of commission, right? And it is absolutely a disgrace. That's my moan.
OK, I have to say it's not very original to do a pollution moan, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't think so? Well, I'll tell you what's not very original is to do the same story one day and then do the same story the next day in two separate competitions. I think you should be disqualified.
No, I didn't do that.
You made the police losers for painting their nails yesterday.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
It was about high heels.
Do you want me to find it?
It was high heels today. And let me tell you this as well. Yeah. I gave you a much better pollution story last night. I said the bonfires are in danger of being banned
rubbish, on
November the 5th.
That's not true.
If the wrong sort of wood is in the bonfire,
but it's not true.
Because it will pollute the air.
No, but it's
and
not
if you
true.
put an old couch in and burn that couch, you will be
on
prosecuted.
a fire and burn you.
No.
I think I'd like to. This is Talk Sport. We'll get the decision after this.
Good.
Now, Patrick says this: how can Porky use the same story on two different occasions in the same week? MG bringing a new news story, not a hashed one. And Ryan says, easiest win ever for old MG. Porky up to his old tricks of trying to hoodwink the public.
I can say that very quickly, by the way.
People can see that straight through you.
No. That's a red herring. Yeah, I can say this very quickly, OK?
What?
The chap who comes from Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Kazakhstan Zanat Zakiyanov.
No, it's Zakhayanov.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not that hard to say.
Kazakhstan Zanat Zakiyanov.
Yeah.
It's Zakiyanov.
It's Zakiyanov, yeah.
Zakiyanov.
Fine.
Kazakhstan Zanat Zakiyanov. Yes.
Jim says this: enjoyed Porky's moan, MG, but you've got the edge with Mayor Khan's cynical and inept use of environmental economics.
Oh, but pollution's not new. I mean, I thought it was lacking in originality.
Well, moaning about the police isn't new either. Here's one from Mike who says, I think Porky should try a day as a policeman rather than criticise those who do a difficult job.
Yeah, Ryan here, who must have been listening to something else, said, easiest win ever for old MG. Porky up to his old tricks of trying to hoodwink the public. Me? Hoodwink the public? Are you mad?
I've already read that one out.
People.
I've already read that one out.
Yeah, but I'm the man of the people. I put a different interpretation on it, OK?
Richard says, same two stories as last night, yet Porky evades two stories about Everton and the crime capital Gosport. You see?
Yeah, well, it's not a crime capital. That's just your propaganda as well.
There's been a goal at Stamford Bridge. Let's go back to the Moose.
11 minutes gone. Chelsea 1, Watford 0.
I've got good news for you, Porky. The vote is in, and producer Izzy has made her decision on the 1 minute moan.
Yes.
And the winner is me.
The winner is you, is it?
Would you like to congratulate me now or later?
No, I'm not going to congratulate you. And young Izzy has just cut off her life supply of summer fruit cider.
Summer fruit cider?
Yeah.
That's very harsh.
It's her favourite tip.
How about this from Mike in Harnby? He said, you can tell Porky is single and childish. The way he insults Mike Graham like a teenage boy, Porky tries to belittle MG, but just makes a fool of himself.
No, I don't at all.
What do you make of that?
I pick on the salient point, which is the flaw in your argument, and dwell on it, and
like
expose you for what you are,
yeah.
which is basically a piece of scum.
This is Talk Sport. Chelsea 1-0 up down at Stamford Bridge. We'll be going back there when the next goal goes in. Here's one from PT who says, I'm confused. Was Porky reading the Kazakh name from a Cyrillic or Latin alphabet? His pronunciation is weird. And Paul's got another idea. He says, I think part of Porky's problem reading Kazakh is he's forgetting the diphthongs.
The diphthongs.
You must never forget the diphthongs.
Don't forget your diphthongs.
No.
I could read it from a Latin or Cyrillic alphabet if you wish, but I prefer to stick to the original English, which of course is a derivation of the Arabic alphabet.
Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Sanskrit.
No, Arabic. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yes. Now, I want to tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
We
haven't got a lot of time.
What do you mean I haven't got a lot of time?
Well, the show's over in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we've got important issues to talk about.
Go on, then.
Right now, I need to talk to you about one particular issue, and that is mushrooms, OK?
Mushrooms?
You know that mushrooms are the new magic food, and I don't mean magic mushrooms.
You don't mean
okay?
magic mushrooms?
I do not mean magic mushrooms.
Have you ever taken magic mushrooms?
No.
No, neither have I.
No, neither have I. But what I'm saying is that mushrooms, because of their composition, they're mostly water. If you have those on toast...
What do you mean they're mostly water?
Mushrooms are mostly
rubbish.
water. No, they are, honestly.
That's rubbish.
They are. And so if
How did you make that out?
Because I know my
If you
foods,
squeeze a mushroom, water does not come out of it.
Well, I'm afraid to tell you it does.
No, it doesn't.
Now then, what I'm saying to you is that mushrooms are a fantastic new sort of great food because if you eat them on toast, for instance, if you fry a few mushrooms, put them on toast, they are immensely better for you than sausages, bacon, beans, or anything else. You see what I mean?
That's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. So
they don't contain any fat, is what you're saying.
Don't contain any fat at all.
Yeah.
And I think you will find that a period of eating mushrooms.
A period of eating mushrooms?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Over a period of time.
What, just mushrooms?
Mushrooms on toast will make you a much healthier person.
I'll tell you what I do like.
You never know about these things. You always look at me as though, I'm talking in some sort of foreign language. And that's because I'm up to date with trends and you're not.
You're basically like the guy that just came out of an egg, right? Or somebody who's just woken up from some 50-year coma and somebody taps you on the shoulder and goes, hey, by the way, mushrooms are quite good for you.
Yeah, they are.
And you think that you're the only person that's ever discovered this.
No.
I've had books on mushrooms. I've gone mushroom picking in the woods.
Right.
Decades before you even came out with this nonsense.
Okay, so why haven't you told me about this before?
Because I don't really think that I need to tell you that eating vegetables is a good thing.
Yeah.
I've told you many times that you should eat more vegetables. Yeah. One of the reasons you're so unhealthy is because you don't eat properly, and I've told you that many times. Yeah. If you ate more mushrooms, both raw and cooked, you'd be a much healthier person.
Yeah, well, that's what I've just told you. No, you're just repeating it, see. You've got nothing original to say today.
Well, everybody knows that.
The 1 minute moan was a dull and boring repetition of things already been done.
Here's another element of the bleeding obvious, if you like.
Yes.
If you drink as much water during the day as you drink beer and wine, you'd be a much healthier person.
Who told you that?
I'm telling you that.
Why?
Because water's very good for you.
There are nutrients in beer in moderation, which are good for you.
Yeah, but moderation is not your watchword. Also, the point about water is that it has cleansing capacities. It has cleansing capabilities. Yes. It clears out your kidneys. It clears out all sorts of internal organ problems that you might have if you just drink alcohol.
Yes, but the point is, my kidneys don't need clearing out.
Well, you're not very well, are you? Let's face it.
No, I'm perfectly healthy.
Well, you've told us before that you were 36 hours from death. Only one-third of your heart works.
That was when I was, but I fought back from all of that, you see.
But what you spend your time eating is fatty foods, right? Fried foods, takeaway foods. What you don't do is look after yourself. And even if only for the interests of making me a lot of money, I don't want you to die off yet.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about that too much, okay?
I'm not worried about it.
Now, what I wanted to tell you about as well was a terrible fear I have that English vineyards are going to be hammered with a new tax in the forthcoming budget.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Tories have now done more to tax people than any Labour government, I think, in living memory.
Yeah.
And they keep coming up with new taxes.
The wine industry in England and Wales is lobbying the government and demanding the Chancellor scrap planned increases in duty on wine in the forthcoming budget. Now, I would wholly endorse that. Why? I hate heavy taxes anyway, because politicians take money. It's not their money, it's our money, and they misspend it, right? And so I would say scrap that altogether. Otherwise, we're going to be at a terrible disadvantage to other New World wines, like, for instance, New Zealand, okay?
Okay, so
where
you're saying
they have minimal taxes on their vineyards and on their grapes and on their wine.
So you're not saying that you're in favour of these new taxes, are you?
Of course not. I want them scrapped.
Okay.
The UK alcohol industry is one of the most heavily taxed in Europe. British drinkers pay 68% of all wine duties collected by all 28 member states.
And how is this going to be affected by Brexit, by the way?
Yeah, exactly.
Because presumably, we keep being told that as soon as we leave the European Union, prices of everything are going to go up.
That's right.
Because it's an excuse for everybody to put prices up.
But this is an amazing set of figures I pulled together to shock both you and our millions of people audience.
Okay.
68% of all wine duties collected by all 28 EU member states, come from this country, despite the fact we only have 11% of the population.
That's interesting.
It is horrendous.
But why are we
We're massively overtaxed in this country.
But why are we collecting taxes on behalf of the EU?
Because that's the way it works in the common market.
Well, surely if sales tax, which is VAT, is collected by the UK government and spent by the UK government, it doesn't go straight to Brussels, does it?
No, you weren't listening. The UK alcohol industry is one of the most heavily taxed in Europe. British drinkers paying 68% of all the wine duties collected by all 28 member nations.
Oh, I see.
But
it's not given into a major central
given to major
pot. No, you didn't explain that very well.
No, I did. You just didn't listen properly. Now, in New Zealand... producers pay less than half the duty on every bottle of wine they produce than we pay in this country. So that puts us at a massive, massive disadvantage against world markets.
Yeah.
And once we come out of the European market, once Brexit happens, what are we going to do then to compete with countries like New Zealand, who only tax their winemakers at half the percentage that we tax ours?
I mean, you probably drink more New Zealand wine than you drink English anyway, don't you?
What?
Don't you drink more New Zealand wine than you drink English anyway?
Yes, I don't drink English wine.
So why are you worried about it? So I'm
worried about the competitive nature of our industry in the world outside of Europe, you know.
I see.
Now, an English producer selling 250,000 bottles of sparkling wine in the UK this year will face a tax duty bill of £692,500.
That's amazing, isn't it?
The rise in March, which is predicted, the rise in March just gone, added another 26,000 to this bill, and the planned rise next month, unless it's cancelled, will add another 24,000, OK?
Shocking.
It is an outrage,
Yeah.
and it must be cancelled immediately and, in fact, put into retrospective action so there will reduce tax on the wine in this country.
Well, that's not going to happen, is it? Now, Gareth in Belfast says mushrooms can give people gout. You're better off with sausages. And here's one from Jim who says, Porky says he hasn't taken magic mushrooms. Seems like he's on them all the time.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh, isn't it?
It is a bit harsh.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the two mics on Talk Sport.
What's the most famous thing that ever came out of Denmark?
Well, I know. Hans Christian Andersen.
No, bacon.